Sounds great.
Queer Talanoa, the podcast series, is brought to you by the global queer people of Fiji in an effort to share the stories of queer Fijians and our experiences. The views, thoughts and opinions expressed belong to the hosts and guests of each episode and do not necessarily represent the entire queer community of Fiji.
Kia ora koutou everyone, it's Noel from Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland in Aotearoa, New Zealand, bringing you another episode of Queer Talanoa.
Bula Vinaka everyone! Hola, it's Avi all the way from Spain and welcome to our fourth episode of Queer Talanoa. Is it fifth or fourth? I'm so lost.
It is four. It's four.
Right. It's the fourth episode of Queer Talanoa.
Four, yes.
How are you, love? How's the week been for you?
Oh, it's been a week, let me tell you. It's been a week. I'm so glad it's Friday.
Right?
I'm just so happy. It's been long. It's been a long week for me, honestly. And I'm planning to just chill out. I'm catching up with one of my really good friends tomorrow, so I cannot wait. We're gonna have coffee, and she is just such a good friend. She's also part of the LGBT community, so I'm really excited to just, gas bag and spill the tea with her.
Love it. I mean, it's here. I woke up with heavy rain this morning,
Oh, right.
and the couch and my tables and my chairs in the terrace was all wet. So no sitting on the terrace today. So the day started lovely, I guess. The sun is out. I can see the mountains. So I'm excited what today's gonna hold for us. I had a fantastic week. You knew that I was on vacations, right?
Yeah, that's right. Oh my god, yeah. I saw all of the Instagram posts. Bitch, I was so fucking jealous.
Bitch, it
What the
was
fuck?
bitch, it was like the first time I was in the house with like 8 other gay people, like in my
Oh my
life.
god.
Like it was like couples only thing. So we had like three gay.
Okay.
No, not even.
Are you sure?
No, girl. Well, I realized in this trip we have to have a conversation like privately about this, but just to touch on this topic, I realized that not all gays are supposed to get together, like get
No.
get along together. Like I'm okay
Yeah.
not getting along with some gay people.
Oh
Like
my god.
girl,
Yeah. I mean, if
girl,
you've seen any episode of RuPaul's Drag Race, we all know that, don't we?
girl, and there's a term in Spain. It's called marica mala. It literally means like a bad gandu.
What?
And it's like those ones, those gandus that are like really evil. They're
Oh
like
my
like
god.
तुम्हें आँखें लगे तुम्हें नजर लगाई बोले कि तुम्हें देखो कैसे आता है. Like those kind of
Oh my
gandus.
god.
I had
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
those
yeah.
people during the fucking trip with me, and I was just like so annoyed all the time, all the
Oh
time.
jeez.
But
Yeah.
other than that, it was fantastic.
Yeah. Sometimes the sassiness just gets a bit too much, eh? Like you just like
Oh, bitch, I can
I
be
get
sassy
it.
if I want to be, but like looking
Yeah.
at your face, I already feel sorry for you. I won't. You know what I mean? Though?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. I have my 100%. I have my sassy moments, but like it comes and goes. It's got to be balanced for
It's
me.
gotta
It
be
has to
balanced.
be balanced.
Exactly. If you're gonna like
Yeah.
read someone, first read yourself, sweetie.
Damn.
Right.
So what else? What else is going on?
Nothing much. Yesterday we went to play beach volley after the longest time, Noel. After the
Yeah.
longest time, like in Fiji, used to go out and play, I don't know, rugby or play soccer. Like even if we were not good at it, we used to play some sports on the beach. And yesterday we went to enjoy a little bit of sun and everything. It was
Mm.
great. What about you? How's
Good.
your weekend going?
Well, what am I doing? We have a puja to go to tomorrow morning.
I'm sorry, viewers. This is like the 100th time we're gonna mention puja in this
Yeah.
podcast.
It is like literally that's like the center point of identity for like any Indo-Fijian person. You go to the puja and you pray.
Ala, at least you get to eat all the prasad and stuff, like
Yeah, that's the
halwa
good one.
and what
And
what sweets do
kheer,
you guys get?
probably kheer, laddu, lots of fruit.
Fuck you guys, man. I miss those. I miss those. I'll do the puja for that.
Just for that. Okay.
Good God, he's not listening. Oh, he's still sleeping now.
Oh God. Yeah. So it'll be interesting.
It
You know
would
what
be
pujas are like.
interesting. Puja, like, oh my God, talking about puja. Growing up, I remember that I used to play a lot with my cousin's salwar kameez, my cousin's
Oh my God.
yes, girl, and I was told off
Hmm.
so many times for it.
Yeah.
And what, for me growing up, like my parents never used to hit me, or
Yeah.
like physically abuse me. Mentally, I think they've abused me a lot, and emotionally they've abused me a lot, but like they
Yeah.
would never hit me. But even though if they
Right.
like they would scream or yell at me, I will cry like a little piggy bear. Like I would be just like
Mm.
crying. They would not even have to lift their like finger on me. I would just start crying. And
Yeah.
emotionally, I was so vulnerable growing up that
Mm.
sometimes for me showing emotions was like not a way out for me. Like
Mm.
I would shut myself down. And through these years, I've never been able to point a finger until I got here and actually thought about it and seen someone and talked about it, why this was happening to me. Why was it so hard for me to show emotions?
You know, the thing is, Avi, like I think I parallel that exact experience, like what you're
Right?
saying. Honestly, I can literally in my mind remember moments as a child, like crying and being told off by parents, and there wasn't a lot of hitting or anything, but there was always the threat of the chimach, the metal
The
spoon, and
chimage,
the
the belt, or yeah.
yes, um, and then like after like being a teenager and stuff, you're like you don't really want to show your emotions, especially in front of your parents. You're just like you don't say
No,
anything,
it
and
was like
I
the
think
ultimate
that
sign of weakness.
oh
Like you
yeah.
cannot cry or show emotion, especially if you were a boy. Like being a boy completely changes your perspective of life and emotions, how you control your emotions. and
Hmm.
and it detaches us from our own emotions, and it doesn't help us manage it. It just helps us pretend it does not exist, really.
Yeah, where basically like they make you shut it all down, um, shut it
Yes.
all down because of the what's that phrase? That's what's that old phrase that they always say about boys.
Right. Men don't cry. Or
Exactly.
Hindustani में कौन सी बोलता रहा हूँ?
Well,
Oh,
I
they
remember
would never say Hindustani. Oh my God, it was even more pathetic. They would never say men don't cry in Hindustani. They would say लड़की का रकम रो नहीं.
exactly.
Oh
Yes,
my
that's exactly
God.
what I was thinking. Yeah.
It just registered now. Like this is even
Right.
worse. Like worse. Like
Yeah.
they're saying that to make it sound like women are weaker. So yeah, so like I remember like being told like, oh my God, Avi, don't cry like a little girl, or don't act like a girl, don't walk like a girl, don't talk like a girl. Like that they demean the meaning of females and girls so much that for us anyway to look like or to act like a girl or to talk like a girl would mean that you are lesser than anyone else in this world. Yeah, and as a
Hmm.
man, you don't belong there. And for me, like, what is that? What is that for you, Noel?
It's like really toxic shit. It's like toxic masculinity. You know, it's just elevating the masculine ideal or whatever and saying that that's better than the alternative,
Yeah,
and it's fucking shit.
it's not just I think it's not just about like behaving like a man, but like when people say toxic masculinity is about behaving like a man. What is behaving like a man, you know
Oh god, yeah. I mean, what
so
does that even mean?
for
Like,
for, for us Indo-Fijian people, what is behaving like a man? A man goes out to feed his family, works. The man takes care of the financial things. It's a direct separation of roles in a society.
mm, yeah, I guess so. I mean, when you look at like the traditional like Indo-Fijian family, it's still very much like, when you think back to like those American movies in the 1950s where the father goes out to do his job and the mom is at home cooking. He comes home, and
Like
this
a
is like this.
typical nuclear family, yeah.
Yeah, so there's that ideal of this is what like a guy or a man is or should do, and it's still very much like that in current like Indo-Fijian, especially like for me, like when living in Auckland, and although like a lot of us have been here for a very long time, those ideals still, I feel like I still see a lot of that in Indo-Fijian families in Auckland who have been here for ages.
Yeah,
um and it's kind of shit.
yeah, it is kind of shit because it shows it teaches you lies, no, for me at least, personal, on a personal level, because there is no
Hmm.
no difference between between being a man and a woman, acting like a man or a woman, it doesn't make you any lesser, any weaker. No,
Yeah.
the notion that a man should be physically strong, emotionally chaos, and like
Hmm.
have aggressive behavior, um, that's for me is very redundant in today's world. It's not needed.
Oh, uh-huh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and that's
We've like moved beyond that in a lot of the like Western world, and we celebrate lots of different, gender expression and all of that. Like it's so much more celebrated in the West, and I guess it kind of clashes for us because we're still, at the end of the day, we're still Indo-Fijian, and our families are still Indo-Fijian that operate in that like cycle or that sort of environment.
yeah, that sort of environment, no, but like it's important that our generation are learning to fight against this, not
Hmm.
yeah, well, to at least talk, to have a conversation against this and say, okay, maybe this is not right, maybe what you
Hmm.
guys have been teaching us for decades is not what we want now, you know.
Yeah.
um for you growing up, for example, now growing up, well, you were in Fijian growing up in New Zealand, and people may think, oh, okay, you might have a modern lifestyle, a much open-minded perspective growing up in your
Mm.
family. Was it any different growing up in New Zealand than me growing up in Fiji for you?
I think like when we talked earlier about that growing up and having the parents, the things that they would say, I experienced a lot of the same. Like at the end of the day, at home, we speak Fiji Hindi and we eat Fiji Indian food. And so the culture is very, at home, the culture is still very Indo-Fijian. So I always got the Ladki kera kamrone, the don't cry like a girl kind of thing. Always sort of been being pushed into like more masculine perceived activities, being forced to play soccer that I could not play soccer. Like, let's be honest, I was shit at that. And just generally like the way dress and stuff. It's very clean cut boy, which was, it's interesting because I just go into a little bit of a little side note or side story here, but um, so when I recently moved back to New Zealand and I came back looking a little bit different to the way I had left. So I
What do you mean?
moved back. So I moved back to New Zealand, and for the first time, I had long hair, but I also had a beard and I had a nose piercing. Nose piercings are really common for women in Indo-Fijian communities. Long hair is like almost mandatory for women, but you'd rarely see it on a guy. Maybe once in a while you'll see it on some guy, but like it's not that common, eh?
Yeah, but like I
And
think it's so it contradicts from our history. Like all
yeah,
the gods
yeah,
and all these kings and stuff, they had like really long hair, really long beard.
yeah,
They wore jewelry all over themselves.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
stop
Well,
picking and
that's
choosing.
totally. And I mean, I don't want to go too much into like Gurmit stuff because I'm not an expert in that. But when you look at pictures and
Neither.
stuff, I'm sure there were a lot of men that had long hair and had some kind of jewelry. Um, but nowadays, those things are perceived as like feminine. So when I came home from living abroad, and my parents were like, oh, okay, so he's got long hair and a nose piercing, and they brought it up in such an awkward way. Like my
Yeah,
mom
my
was
God.
like, oh, like she points to her nose, like, oh, what is this? It was like really awkward. And I was like, oh, it's just a thing.
My mom when says
Um,
she saw the nose ring, she said to me, "Tum ladki hai ka?"
exactly. Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah. So they question you. They immediately go to, so you're a girl. Like, are you a girl? As if it's an insult. First of all, it's not a, being a girl is not a bad thing. So,
Not at
but
all.
they
I
use
laugh
it
on
as
their
an insult.
faces. Yeah. Like they're gonna insult me. No, girl, please. I'll be like, yes, girl, yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
um,
please.
yeah. So
My punani is on
basically,
fire.
ooh, damn.
No, yeah, you were saying sorry about that.
No. That's cool. So basically, they tolerated it for a while, but then one day, and this is literally only like a couple of months ago, I ended up getting rid of the beard. So suddenly, I am clean shaven. I have long hair and a nose piercing, and then suddenly it was like, oh, are you gonna cut your hair? And I was like, no, I don't see why not. And then suddenly it was every week there'd always be a comment like, oh, you know, your hair's quite long now. You should cut it. You should cut it. You should cut it. And then randomly they started bringing up they'll point to my nose and be like, is that permanent? Like what's going on? I was like, yeah, it's a permanent piercing. It's in there. Like it's gonna stay. And then it took me a while to realize why they were saying it's because when I had a beard, because a beard is like a symbol of, you know, being a man or whatever. But once the beard was gone, suddenly I'm a clean shaven young guy with long hair and a nose piercing is what's going on there. That's not right. That's too feminine. And I should go back to being like the ideal like masculine dude.
The idea that they
Um,
have in their head.
yeah.
If this was said to you 10 years ago, for example, judged on the way you look today, or told how to dress, etc., how emotionally, how would you feel?
I mean, but at that point, okay, here's the thing. At that point, like 10 years ago, I was still coming to terms with my sexuality, very much so, like much, much further back in the closet, right? So at that point, I was already dressing very conservatively. I had very conservative haircuts. So
Right.
I didn't go out of like, I didn't break any norms or standards at that point because it was very much like, you know, I don't want the attention.
Right, you didn't
Um,
want to sound any alarms at that moment. Like you wanted to
exactly.
like go by like unidentified. Like, okay, let's just like
Yes.
try to make through this life. Like it's already so
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
difficult.
yeah.
I don't want anyone
Exactly.
questioning me or my sexuality or my identity.
Hmm.
Because right now, like at that stage, I guess you were still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. So for me back then, like, I mean, I already understood the pressure of maintaining that masculine image, so I
Yeah,
just went with
yeah.
it because I didn't really have a choice, um, you know, at that age. So yeah, I mean, I definitely felt the pressure and had sort of succumbed to it.
Exactly, and just touching on the Indian society and or even in the traditional Pacific Island culture, no, gender
Yeah.
roles are really important. Gender roles are
Hmm.
very much defined, right?
Mm.
But however, I don't know if you remember, in the Fijian society back in the days, women were the one who would go hunting, would go fishing, bring the food home. You know,
Oh,
did you know that?
I did not know that actually. I
Yes, in
did
the
not.
traditional Fijian society, women did the fishing. Women would go outside. So and of course men would do like hunting and stuff, and men would do, but that was something that was very normal in the Fijian society. And
Wow.
through the years, I think because of the influence of the colonialism,
Hmm.
many things were mixed and matched. The idea
Right.
of masculinity, the idea of gender roles, um, things were clashed, coming
Hmm.
from the colonist side, and then also from the traditional side, and we tried to pick and choose whatever
Mm.
worked at that time. So we
Yeah.
saw, so maybe some people saw, okay, so this is how it's supposed to be done. So women were no longer going out to fish. Women were no longer going out to look for food. Men were doing it. So really, gender roles in the society has never been the same like this. Clearly,
Mm.
it
It's
has
just
been
suddenly,
influenced.
yeah, we've become like really conservative, haven't we? It's like it's weird. And I could go on for ages talking about how like messed up that is. When
Oh,
you compare to like, you know, back in the day. I mean, I've heard stories about even like in our like Indo, specifically like Indo Fijian, and in my family as well. There are stories of like my grandmother being out
hmm,
working, you know, helping my grandfather work in the field and planting and cropping and all of that kind of shit.
right?
Which nowadays they would definitely be like, oh no, you know, girls shouldn't do that or something.
No,
Which
no.
is just so fucked up.
Also, I find what is fucked up that unintentionally and subconsciously, all of us tend to do things which are really mm, I'd say misogynistic, and also like a sign of toxic masculinity. When
Hmm.
we, for example, it happens a lot in my house, personally speaking, from my experience in my household, when my brother would sit there watching TV or something, and he would never get up to get a glass of water,
Oh,
and that pisses the fuck out of me.
right.
like someone, a wife, the wife has to get him the water, that kind of thing.
Oh,
It pisses me off. Like, okay,
yeah.
even if you are hungry, boo boo, you go put yourself a plate of food. Like, no one's there to go put a
Yeah.
plate of food. Like, those kind of things are so archaic that it bothers
Oh
me.
my.
And
It's like
now,
make some 2 minute noodles for yourself for fuck's sake, you know? If you can't cook, just put some noodles on the stove at the least, you know? It's not that hard, guys.
this reminds me of a conversation I was having with my nephew, who's 4 years old, right?
Yeah,
And he's not too used to the idea of me having a boyfriend, me having a male
right.
partner. So whenever we talk on the phone, like talk, and then one day he was asking me, he calls me Kaku. No, Kaku means uncle in Hindi. So he
Yeah.
says, Kaku, why don't you like? So Kaku, who cleans and cooks for you there? Cause Nani is here, and I'm just like,
Oh,
oh man, better. I have to do it. I have to cook. I have to clean for myself because I know how to do it. No, and then he
yeah.
asked me, why don't you get married then, Kaku?
Oh my
And he's
god.
4 years old.
Oh, so it's already started.
Right, and I'm thinking, oh my god, better, I need to like educate this guy like starting now.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the way to go. Like, he
Mhm.
has a sister, he has a older sister. I don't want him to think like his sister is lesser than him, or I want to think like the sister has to do certain kinds of things that she needs to do that
Mhm.
he probably shouldn't do. And I don't want
Yeah.
them to have that way of thinking growing up, that my sister is lesser than me, or I would hate
Yeah.
that from them. So I would
Yeah, yeah.
love. So I'm also, like I said the last episode, no, trembling going back to Fiji and not knowing how I'd
Mm.
react to all this.
Yeah,
The reverse
yeah.
culture shock we talked about last time.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally see that. And I think when we talk about like Indo-Fijian families and this whole like, the masculinity issues, it's so prevalent. Like,
Oh yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
first of all, it is we have that nuclear family dynamic still going. Um, but then there's just all these other things that are riddled in our way of living that it's really annoying when you think about it, like when you actually break
let,
it
let,
down.
let's try to break it down, like I don't know, just to give an idea to the listeners of what are some examples that we can probably in the Fijian society. When I say Fijian society, it encompasses of in the Fijian people, everyone
Yeah,
living in Fiji, right?
yeah,
Like, what are the some growing up for us personal on a personal level, no, what are some signs of toxic masculinity we have seen? For
hmm,
me, one of the most, the roots of this would be important thing would be alcoholism in Fiji.
oh yeah,
The abuse people have on alcohol in Fiji, and this leads
mm,
to so many domestic violence,
oh yeah,
rapes, um, other criminal offenses. No, I think this is
hmm.
something that's really important. Anything else you can think of?
Well, yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, if we relate it to our situation, there's always that the well, homophobia,
Yeah,
right? Like homophobia, because it's obviously they consider it like anyone that's gay. There's this perception that it's a feminine thing, and again, it comes back to feminine being lesser than masculine, right? So
exactly.
inherently, like homophobia is just a
Branch of
huge,
feminine,
huge
like,
thing.
yeah, exactly, because at the end of the day, I think we talked about this in the very first episode.
Hmm.
The mindset of people who are not gay, um, they have of gay people is that they ultimately want to turn into a woman or something like that.
Yes,
Yeah, so
yes,
that's
yes.
the relation they have. Yeah, I totally
Hmm.
get that.
Hmm.
And I also we talked about nuclear family and the patriarchal family structure that we have in
Yeah,
Fiji. The man being the
yeah,
head of the family, women being the head of the kitchen only and looking after the
yeah.
family kind of thing. That's something that we need to break down as well. Here in
Hmm.
Europe, for example, and also I think some parts of Australia and New Zealand, this dynamic has been broken down really, of
Yeah,
women and men. I have friends here. I have of a similar age. They live together, not married, but they share all roles and responsibilities as a couple,
yeah.
not as a gender. You know?
Right. That's actually funny that you say that. I was literally thinking about something like this earlier today, and I read somewhere online about. I think it might have been like on Reddit or something, and the question was like, "What's one of the best things about being in a gay relationship, uh, compared to like being in a straight?" Not to like hate on straight people or anything. But
Not
just a disclaimer, like I'm not hating, but there was a this
I
like
love this.
I know I'm such a bitch sometimes, but
Please don't
sue
hate
me.
us.
Yeah, please don't hate us. We're
Don't cancel
trying,
us.
okay?
We just started.
Yeah, we just restarted. um, no,
Tell
but
me.
seriously, like one of the things was, and this is, I think it's predominantly in Western sort of gay couples, and they were saying how there's no like a perceived gender roles in the couple in the home. Like it's not like there isn't a woman, one woman. Like if it's two women, it's two men, it's two men, whatever. But it's not like one person is automatically going to be cooking and cleaning, and the other one just you know doesn't do
No.
anything.
So me and my partner, like, okay, we've been together for 5 years. Um,
Yeah.
we cook together. We always make dinner together. We
Hmm.
clean together. We fold clothes together. We do every chores together. And there's like not a day would go by that I'd be like, oh, this is not my kind of thing. We do everything together,
Right.
and we don't have that tension between us. Oh, this is your thing to do. This is my thing to do. Because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Noel, at the end of the day, we taught this to ourselves,
Hmm.
right?
I mean, yeah,
When we moved so many kilometers, thousands of kilometers away from home, we knew we're going to be alone and independent here. That was the
yeah,
goal. When you moved to England, you knew that you're
hmm
going to be alone there. You were going to
yeah,
find yourself. That was the
exactly.
objective.
Totally, yeah, absolutely. I think in a way when you think about it, like being a queer person and getting away from those inherent like roles, it's kind of freeing. Like it's a benefit. I think that's like definitely a pro when it comes to being in like a gay relationship. Or not that I've been in one, but
It
not that
doesn't
I've been in
doesn't
a relationship, but
doesn't take away from
um
your understanding of it.
exactly, yeah,
And
100%.
also quickly, just one lastly, I think something really important in our Fijian society is the emotional insensitivity that we are taught from the
Mm,
very, very, very younger age.
yeah,
Um, like not to show emotions, not to cry, not
yeah.
to um think about it. Okay, growing up, Noel, I had straight friends. Okay, of course, uh boys. Okay,
Mhm.
and now until this day as well, not so many straight boyfriends, but I have some straight friends, but I would never be able to talk about emotions with them.
Yeah, that's messed up, eh?
My best friends, people I grew up with when I was 5 and I went to high school, university, still in touch with them. These people
Mhm.
have formed part of my life, but I've never reached to a point when I'm but comfortable with them to be able to talk about emotions
Right.
still, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas with girls and my gay friends, girl, we cry. Like we are
Oh.
like, just,
Yeah,
we like
bitch, I know. I'm there listening to your shit
right?
every
Not like
other day. And you're listening to mine as well. So that's like, it's so good.
for me,
Um
it's like a shame for me not being able to do that. But that, for me, I see some part of the misogyny is still with me. Like I'm not
uh-huh.
100% like clean. You know what I mean? I'm still uncomfortable
Mm.
going to my straight friend and be like, "Oh my god, like I'm emotionally really like unstable right now. I can't do that."
Yeah. And it's because of basically like what we've been taught as a child growing up, like this is the way you have to be, and full stop, basically.
Exactly. This is the way you have to be, and full stop.
When we think about it, this masculine ideal, right, being this toxic idea of being masculine, um although there are benefits to being gay, lesbian, queer, essentially, and
Hmm.
there are ways that we escape from those ideas. But I think for me, and I see this a lot because I'm single and have tried the dating thing, but I feel like there's still a huge issue with the idea of masculinity amongst the gay guys, amongst the gay men.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, no shame, I've been on Grinder, and I've tried dating and doing all that casual stuff, and it's just like this weird obsession. You see it on guys' profiles all the time. Like they're masculine guys who only like masculine guys.
Yeah, mask for mask.
Mask for mask, yeah. And it's just everywhere now.
That is one of the most disgusting things that could happen in our own community. It's like, okay, We talked about this so many times, and it's going. These topics are so interrelated between one and the
Yeah.
other. This is also
Hmm.
discrimination within our community. It is what it is. It is what
Yeah.
it is. And in our community, we have ranks as well.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
And we
Hmm.
if we get into this should be another topic for a
Oh
podcast.
yeah. Oh
But we
yeah.
have,
It's huge.
right, it's huge. We have ranks, and people look down on gays depending on these ranks. Okay, so you
Yeah.
have the tough masculinity masculine gays with like big bodies, masculine feature,
Hmm.
and then you have these little sweet twinks, they call them,
Uh-huh.
um who are like, lesser than anyone else. But then, girl, some twins can be like real Beyonces. Like, don't fuck with them, boo boo.
Mm-hmm.
Some
Oh
twins are
yeah.
gonna like fucking show you the ropes, and you'd never know where when it's in, when it's out, when it's dripping, when it's out.
Oh God, yeah, no, 100%. But you know what? We also, I mean, if we're talking the rankings, if we're talking about the rank of guys, we cannot ignore. And I don't want to get too far into it, but we can't ignore that ethnicity plays a huge part of the ranking system. Like I can honestly say it, like when you talk about the layers, the people that sit at the top are the bearded white guys who
Oh,
have
white
the gym
passing.
body, the white passing guys who have the gym body, who can afford the gym body, I should say. Um, yeah, so they pretty much rule the gay men's world. Um, and I think it's just shit because when you think, I mean, there's what about the femme guys? Like, I think a lot of gay men have that inherent feminine sort of energy. We all sort of flip in and out of it, though. When you think about it, like we do
Girl,
it
please,
all the
every fucking.
time.
I do it all the time. I
Oh,
do it all
every
the fucking
day.
time. I'm so comfortable with it. Especially, I
Mm-hmm.
do. Okay, it does happen to me when I talk to you guys, when I talk to my gay friends, when I talk to my boyfriend or any other gay
Mm-hmm.
friends. I tend to have a different side of me, which is much more. I won't. Well, I'm not gonna say that word. I'm gonna be cancelled. It's much more like, um, I don't know. It's much more like real when I
Sassy.
talk. Yes, sassy,
Yeah, yeah.
real.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk,
That
then
bitch.
that bitch, girl. Yeah, so like I talk like that and I'm comfortable with it. But when then I'm not gonna talk like that to my father. I'm not gonna talk
No.
like that to my to my auntie, to my uncle and stuff. No, obviously. But like you said, everybody does that, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how can one person say, "Oh, that's not attractive," like, "Oh, that's
Yeah,
not."
and
I don't, who are
it's
you? Like,
stupid.
it's not for you, boo boo.
It's also, it's like, okay, here's my thing, because I if someone asks you, right, like if you were on a dating app, and somebody asks you like, are you mask or femme, like how would you even answer that? Because for me, I'm just like, well, it depends on my mood, boo boo. Like it depends on my mood.
Wow, good question, Noel. I haven't been on dating apps for a while now.
Yeah,
Someone
because you have a boyfriend, bitch.
Yes, yes, yes. But thinking back on the time when someone used to ask me this, like few years ago, if
Yeah,
I was femme or mask, I would say I was mask. Oh
right,
my god, not even.
right. This bitch, I don't think so.
If anyone's like not watching me, I'm going back and forth my chair.
He's
No,
having
no,
a
no.
moment.
I'm having a moment. I'm having a revelation right now. No,
But see
no,
how
but
that, like in that situation, we elevated mask as being the preference. We did it automatically,
automatically,
um, because we
like you said.
knew that that's what they want. And so, and I have played it up before. And when I think about like a casual encounter or something, I have definitely been able to play that role. But that's not I don't think saying mask is an accurate way for me
I
to
don't
like
think I
label.
don't I don't think you play that role either. Like the what
No.
it's like language for us if you think
Yes.
about it, right? So when we talk to our parents, we have a different connotations when we talk to them. We have a different form. We have
Hmm.
a different tone when we talk to them, and when we talk to
Yeah.
our friends, we have a different tone. So and when I talk professionally when with people I work with, I have a completely different tone. So our
Mhm.
personality opens up and closes depending on the people we're comfortable with.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
No.
And I think that when we because we've broken it down to identifying the fact that there are many different ways of being, when we have these labels like the mask for mask thing, and holding masculinity up there.
a
I think
stable,
it's just
yeah.
really shit. It's really damaging, and guys need to stop fucking doing that.
They need to stop
You
fucking
know.
doing that, and like everybody's fucking different, and you cannot be like, okay, but I think this should be another topic, because we
Hmm.
okay, you cannot just judge a person by the way the person talks, by the way the person acts. That person has a lot of history behind himself or herself from themselves, and that
Hmm.
person comes from all that history. It's offensive to me. I
Yep.
feel offended. It's like in Spanish we say vergüenza ajena. It's like
Oh.
vergüenza means like when you're ashamed of someone else for them.
Ah. So you're like secondhand embarrassment.
That's the word.
Ah.
That's the vergüenza ajena means secondhand embarrassment, girl.
Right.
And
Oh,
that's
we're
when
going
what I
into
feel,
Spanish now.
girl.
Uh
That's what I
huh.
feel when I see people acting like that. I feel shame for them.
Shame on their
Like
name.
shame on their name.
I can talk ages about. I feel like we'll let's
I am.
delve into this for another
Girl, I've
episode.
noted this down. This is like
Oh,
going
you
to be
have?
another
Okay, good.
topic.
Because I've got stories. I've got some stories, and I'm so keen to like go into that for next time.
Yeah. No, but it's important that we know our self worth and
Yeah.
not let anybody decide who we are for ourselves. I think we've come to the end of this beautiful fourth episode now, and I'm gonna leave the listeners with this small code. Just remember that you all are bad bitches, and always take your fucking space in this society.
100%. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening in. We'll be back very soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.